Okay, so I am going to change this worksheet into an interactive Google slide for students to be able to manipulate. So the first thing I need to do is find a worksheet that I would like to manipulate. Now this worksheet is got a lot going on, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of cut it in half. So I want to go ahead and snip this screen. The way that you can do that is probably different on each computer. You can use a snipping tool. I'm going to use the Shift, the Windows, and the S on mine because I have. So I'm going to come over here to a blank Google slide, and I want to go to Layout, and I do want to change it to blank. I want to get all that stuff off my screen, and I'm going to paste my my snip, being my snippet that I just did. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this box on the side. Okay, so I might go ahead and shrink this a little bit because I do want to add, this says add one more, so I want to go ahead and, put a little box over here with things to add and be able to move. Now, since the students are not going to be able to draw, I am going to need to change these directions a little bit. I'm going to add a text box over this. And I'm going to change the directions. Instead of draw one more, I want them to add one more. So I'm going to move my text box over here. And I'm going to change it to Comic Sans because that's, that's the font that I'm in right now. So I'm going to say add one more. Then count the objects and write, or not write, I want you to type the number in the box. Okay, I can have it a little bit bigger. Looks like I can make it a little bit bigger. Now, I want this to go over the directions that I already had. So I'm going to go ahead and put it here, but I'm going to need to go up here to this paint, and I'm going to need to change it to white so that it will cover up the whole directions. Okay, they look like they were a little bit bold. Anyway, okay, so now it looks like this is the background that I would like for my Google Slides. So if this is how I want my background, this is what I do not want to move. I want to be able to freeze this screen. So I'm going to come up here to File, and I'm going to download this current slide as a JPEG. I want it to become a picture. So when I do that, that goes down right here to the left, the bottom left side of my screen. So I'm going to open up a new slide. I'm going to go back and, go back to blank. I want it to be blank. Now, I'm going to come to background, and I'm going to choose an image. I'm going to choose the image that I just saved. I saved it as a JPEG. So now that slide that I just made is right here. It's the very last thing that I saved. So I'm going to go ahead, and y'all, it's in your downloads. So all you have to do is go right to downloads. Okay, so I want you to notice the difference in these two slides. On this first slide, I can move these things around, okay? So we don't want the students to be able to do that. On the second slide, the students will not be able to move these things around. And the reason that they can't move around is because now it is a background. It's an image that I've saved as a background. So now these are things, I want to go ahead and move some things around. Okay, the reason I never delete slide 1 is because I already see a mistake that I made. I want to go ahead and add a box because I want to go ahead and put some shapes in a box. I want to put some shapes right here. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead and change my, I'm going to make it a nice little box. I want it to be black, that's fine. I might go ahead and make it dashed. These are I'm going to put my shapes, but I do not want this box to move. So I can already see that I'm going to have to download this again. And guys, to do that, super easy. Now I'm going to go back to the slide here. Now I really don't need, all I'm going to do is change that background again. And I usually save my first slide because sometimes I have changed my background several times because I'm like, ooh, I wanted to add those directions, or ooh, I want to take the name off, or something like that. Okay, so now again, this is not moving. Okay, and now I want to go ahead and add some things for the students to move. I want them to add one more, and then I want them to go ahead and write how many, type how many. Now I'm going to go ahead and start with the type. That's the easiest things. I'm going to add a text box. I'm going to put my text box right here. I'm going to make sure my text box is transparent. Now I want to go ahead and go back to Comic Sans. I want the kids to type, I want it to be nice and big, and I want it to be centered. I might even want it bigger than 30, actually. Okay, so now that I have it about where I want it, so when the kids type how many and they type 3, I just want to make sure that that number is nice and big. Okay, great. So when I have it just how I want it, I'm going to copy that text box, and I'm going to paste it. So all I need to do is put those right here. So now the students will be able to type straight into those boxes. If you want to put the numbers here, you can do that where the students can drag the numbers as well. Okay, so now I want the students to add pictures to these things, right? So I'm going to go ahead and snip those pictures and put them in my box for my students to manipulate. So in order to snip, you can use your snipping tool. I know a Mac's different. I'm going to do Control Windows S again. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this little cloud. So it's snipped. And I'm going to put that right here in my box. Now, you may want to add a couple of these, because you might want to see if the students understand one more. So you might want to add a couple of these, so when the students drag them over, there will be another one. You might want to see if they understand the concept of one more. So I am going to kind of stack these up just to kind of, you don't have to be that tricky with your students. Okay, so now I need a smiley face. So I'm going to go ahead and snip. Now the smiley face is going to be a little tricky. Let's see if I can get it. I have a little bit of that other one. You might be able to do a better job in snipping that. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Again, I'm going to stack some extras in there just to make sure my students understand one more. Okay, and then I need a heart. So all I'm doing is in a box. Okay, so once I have them exactly how I want them, okay, again, we, you might want to change this box. You might want to change the size of it. If you want to change the box, you can go back up to your first one. You could close that in a little bit, like if I made my box too big. All you would do is you would just save that. You would download it as a JPEG again. It is that easy. And then I would come to this slide 2. I could change my background, just like we did before. And if I do that, my things, then only my pictures will move, but not the square. It's so fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, now that I know I have this slide exactly how I want it, I'm going to go ahead and delete this first slide. I'm just going to delete it off my thing, because this is the slide I want the students to be able to manipulate. Now remember, this was only half of that worksheet. So now I'm going to come back. I'm going to grab the other half. And I'm going to do the same thing with the second half of this worksheet. I'm going to go back to my Google Slides. I'm going to add another slide. Go back to layout. I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to shrink it. Okay. Now, this one says draw one more. I know I'm going to want my students to add one more and then circle the numbers. I'll show you how I do the circles in a minute. But I want to go ahead and think about these fingers and these beads. Okay, I'm not really sure I want them to do fingers and beads. I'm going to come over here and just see what I have. Okay, I have smiley faces. I could go back and fix up other smiley faces. I might want to do sunshines and moons. So go ahead and look at your little bank of shapes to see how you want to, change these directions. Okay, so now that I have gotten my directions exactly how I want them and I have my screen, I went ahead and saved the, I'm looking at this because it looks like there might be a line in it. Okay, so I went ahead and saved it let me go ahead and download that image. So I'm going to download it as my JPEG, just like I've done before. Okay, and then I'm going to add a new slide. I'm going to go to background. Y'all, I know I've showed this to you many times, so I'm sure y'all have it by now. I've saved it so many times. Okay, so now I want to go ahead and snip these just as I did before. I know we've done that. Okay, I changed over here to moons and arrows, so I added my moons. And let me just go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and insert some shapes. Sorry, I'm going to go ahead and insert some arrows. Okay, so I'm just going to put them like this. I'm going to go ahead and change my arrows to, black. And then I'm going to just copy. I'm going to make sure I paste at least 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to go ahead and add another one. Just to make sure my students understand the concept of 6. And guys, I just stack these on top of each other. So when the students move them, it just looks like they are, an unlimited supply, even though it is limited. The students won't know how many arrows are really under there. Okay, the circles, now I want the students to circle the number. Okay, so I'm just going to add a circle. So I want to go ahead and make sure my circle is, big enough to cover a number. I'm going to go ahead and make it transparent. Okay, we'll make it black. And then I want to go ahead and make the inside clear. And I want to go ahead and, thicken my borders a little bit. Maybe change the color. Actually, I might want it red. So I'm going to put that circle over here, and I really only need one circle because it says circle the number. So, of course you can make several more, but you don't need to. Okay, so you always want to test your slides to make sure they work. This is the slide that I made as my background. I always delete it last because sometimes I want to go back and change the directions. Sometimes I want to go back and, change something, like I am still seeing this line up here. So I might want to go back and fix that. But once you're sure that your slides work, that they can add one more, that they can put the 6 moons over here, you might want to make sure they all fit. Things like that. Okay, so see, I don't know why, but I should have way more moons over here. So something has happened. I need to go fix that. Okay, make sure my arrows. Make sure I have enough. You never want your slides to not work. Okay, so I'm going to go back and fix my moons and make sure my circles, moves there. I'm going to go back and fix my moons in a second, but after I fix it and I know everything's okay, come back to the slide and delete it. And, sorry, I do want to go back and release that. Before I delete, I'm going to have to go back and add my moons, make sure everything's in the right place. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete it. And now your slides are ready for the students. Okay, let me know if you have any questions.